Strong women like Dr. Aneela Darbar are helping break the stereotypes that are associated with women as being delicate and sensitive. She has broken the generalization by becoming US trained first female neurosurgeon of Pakistan, specialized in the most complex organ in human body, brain, which contains staggering 100 billion nerve cells. She is a medical director in a leading hospital in Multan and senior consultant neurosurgeon in the Afghan University Hospital. Let's hear from her about her early life and childhood.
I was born in Karachi, and Karachi is my hometown, and that's why I have come back to Karachi, back again to my roots.
Right.
I did my early education here, and the few things that I have always noticed. Again, I always think that destiny sort of prepares a human, from a very long time. And when retrospectively I look back at my life, I had lost my mother at a very early days of my childhood. I was turning 5. That was the day my mom actually passed away. It was the day of my birthday, so I distinctly remember that. And so I had a tough childhood, getting raised up without a mother.
Yes.
But if I look retrospectively, I just feel that the destiny had actually chosen me to become tough and strong right from my childhood, and to face adversities and overcome the adversities. And because of that, it's helped me to become, a emotionally strong woman, somebody who doesn't require a lot of, who is actually independent and emotionally independent. I think emotional independence is very important, whether male or female, it doesn't matter. Even when you have failures in your life, you can bounce back up. And I think my childhood prepared me for my future life. Whenever I look back, that's what I see. Since I was a kid, I would say I was interested in neurosciences for a very long time as a child. But during my medical school years, I had decided that I wanted to become a neurosurgeon. And in those days, everybody used to go to the US. Even still, doctors would want to go to the US to do their training. But those days, everybody wanted to do, and I also wanted to pursue neurosurgery in the US.
Right.
So I'm like a planner. I always plan my life 5 years in advance.
Right.
So when I had started my medical school, I started to planning that how I'm going to do my neurosurgery residency in the US. So I started planning, and I would go every year in my summer vacations to the US, and I would work in some hospital in a neurosurgery department over there. And I actually continued to do that for the last 3 years of my medical school. So by the time I was graduating in '96, I had a good foothold in the US. I knew some part of the culture. I knew where the neurosurgery departments are located, and in those days, that was something I felt that not many medical students used to do. The fields that people used to go would be medicine or pediatrics or psychiatry, etc., because surgery was considered very difficult to get in the US. What I always tell my mentees that if you plan something in advance, everything becomes easier. It's like luck favors the planned mind.
Right.
So if you plan it, you can actually eventually get it. Because when I decided I wanted to do neurosurgery in the US, everybody sort of said that this is a impossible task, as Pakistan had no female neurosurgeons, and America only had like 1% of female neurosurgeons.
Right.
But I think planning works a lot. And then when I graduated in '96, I already had a job lined up in the US as a postdoctoral research fellow.
Right.
And I joined that, and I did 2 years of medical research in a neurosurgery department, and then I sort of applied for the neurosurgery and slide through into the neurosurgical world.
You spent about 15 years in US. That's a very long time. So why did you decide to return to Pakistan?
So it's funny that my dad always wanted me to come back to Pakistan.
Right.
And initially I wasn't sure if I want to come back to Pakistan or not. But the first big reason that I actually moved to Pakistan was for family reasons. I actually got married, and my husband used to live in Pakistan, and I decided to move back to Pakistan.
Right.
But the thing is that when I got divorced in Pakistan, at that time I decided not to move back to the US. And the reason was that I decided not to move back to the US was because at a certain age you are attached to your own roots, and because Karachi was always home for me. I never felt home in any part of the world. I've lived in US, I've lived in Australia, I've lived in England, but Karachi always felt home. And when I came back this time, I felt home. I felt a lot of love was given to me by my patients in Pakistan. I made fantastic friendship bonds with people in Pakistan with like-minded mind. And my parents were here; they were getting older, and so a combination of things made me decide that I actually don't want to go back to the US and actually want to serve in Pakistan.
How did you develop interest in neurosurgery?
As a child, I was always interested in neurosciences, and it used to be my favorite subject because, I always used to think why brain is connected, why brain is cross-wired, like why when you move, when you have to move your right hand, your left brain works, or when you have to move your left hand, your right brain works, or why the eyes are not only cross-wired but also upside down. I always used to think why nature has made human body so complicated, and especially the brain.
Yes.
So that kind of novelty, the curiosity of a child to why it's happening, why it's made like that. That sort of, I was always interested in brain. That was my favorite subject right from the childhood.
Right.
And sort of, in the medical school, pursued the same idea that, I want to do something related to the brain. And then one of my uncles had a brain hemorrhage during my medical school years, which sort of helped me to identify the need of a neurosurgeon. When things like that happened, and since I was always interested in neuroscience, I sort of decided to pursue neurosurgery.
Being a woman pioneer in the field of neurosurgery and in a very male-dominant society, what struggles did you face in your career?
The struggles are so many that I can't even list it.
Right.
And the problem is that the struggles have not ended; they have only lessened.
Right.
And it's not just in Pakistan. I think it's all over the world. Whether it's a medical world or it's a corporate world, wherever there is male dominance,
yes.
The females always suffer. And I think the big reason is that I've always felt that. When you say men are from Mars and women are from Venus, right?
Yes.
You say that because there's a certain part of male psyche that a woman doesn't understand, and there's a certain part of female psyche that male doesn't understand, and vice versa, right?
Yes.
So when you are in a situation when there is only few females and a huge male cohort, what happens is that there is grouping inside those cohort, which is a natural human trait, that they hang out with the like-minded people, right?
Yes.
I'm saying that when men and women have issues with them, it's usually not malicious. It is
Yes.
actually a human trait that human wants to hang out with people who they think will understand them. Okay,
Right.
and then when males have difficulty understanding a female psyche, they automatically don't want to bring that female in their groups.
Right.
Okay,
Yes.
so that becomes the basic human trait actually becomes the issue here. And then so whenever there is a leadership position, to put somebody forward or anything, they usually want to have somebody who they can get along with rather than somebody who they don't get along with, or though they don't even understand fully.
Yes.
And therefore equity really becomes gender equity becomes very important in any kind of field, whether it's medical or corporate world. When there's equal number of male and females, then this grouping, even if it happens, then it happens equally. It doesn't happen that it's mostly the male grouping that happens.
Right.
So I think I personally think this is the basic idea behind a woman suffering into a male-dominated world. I never thought it's malicious. I think they're just not on the female doesn't come even on their radar.
Right.
And I think that's the basic principle that happens. Now, of course, same thing happened to me. I'm going to come back to my own life story now.
Yes.
When I went to the US and I wanted to do neurosurgery, in those days it was sort of a white man's club, and not many females, not many brown foreign graduate females were were getting to train. Now in the US, the neurosurgery is the topmost position to sought after in medical field, because again, it's difficult and all the males actually, and lucrative, and people sort of aspire to want to become neurosurgeon. So for a single spot, the single position, there are about 300 applicants. So you have to fight about 300 mostly male, white male applicants to get into the slot, right?
Right.
So of course, for that you require a lot of hard work, dedication, intelligence, skills, personality. I mean, it's not that even you just intelligent and hardworking, you'll get it. No. To get a spot like that, you have to be an all-rounder. You have to have everything to slide into that slot.
Right.
And even when you get that slot, it still doesn't end, because you still have to work with your male colleagues.
Yes.
And you not only have to work, you have to work 24/7 with these male colleagues, right? And you will sometimes not get along with them. They would still feel that you don't understand them. And and for me, most of the time it happens that I've seen in many male-dominated cultures that women try to adapt to males so that they can behave like males, dress up like males, so that they think that they can become a part of their group. Now it's a natural instinct of a human being. That you want to, when you want to join a group, you want to act like them, right? Yes. And I felt that women have actually done that they try to act like men, they like to behave like men, they try to dress up like men, okay, so that they can become a part of the group. And I really feel that women actually lose out big time by doing that. Women are unique in their own way. Yes. They have their own motherly, instinctual attitudes, their behavior, their compassion, the empathy, the way they can multitask things. When women try to emulate a man, I just feel that they actually lose out. Right. Now here I had in a very, very early age decided I will never emulate a man. Right. So So I used to like stand out amongst them because I looked different, I behaved differently,
Yes.
and that becomes more challenging.
Yes.
Because now the male thinks, oh, she's absolutely not a part of my group.
Yes.
Okay, so that becomes more challenging, but in the end, you cannot change yourself for anybody. You have to be yourself. You have to be your own unique women self, who you are. And in the long run, I personally think whatever I suffered a lot, but in the long run, I think I did the right thing. It's the same idea that I said that, which I still face right now is, it is much more so in Pakistan than in the US world.
Yes.
And the idea is that, people don't understand female neurosurgeons. In Pakistan, when somebody says I want to go to a neurosurgeon, the idea that comes to everybody's head is a 60, 70-year-old guy with white hair and wearing a glasses,
Right.
They think this would be the neurosurgeon that they want to go get operated on.
Right.
And then sort of a female who's a younger looking female and who's vivacious and smiling all the time doesn't come to their head, because, your culture doesn't just promote that.
Right.
And so that becomes the most challenging issue, that, the acceptance from the culture is the number one issue that a female surgeon, whether it's a neurosurgeon or it's a cardiac surgeon or whatever in Pakistan face, is that if she looks a certain way, the culture doesn't accept her.
Right.
And then again, they always think that when a female is a surgeon, she may be not as competitive as a man.
Right.
They think the cultural norm is that how would a female know how to do this, right?
Right.
Because in their homes, the female only does cooking, cleaning, and raising children, right?
Yes.
So the female they have seen is this. Their mothers are like that, their wives are like that, their sisters are like that, right? So they can't fathom that. But their friends could be surgeons, or their colleagues could be corporate world people who are males. So again, this whole psyche, the cultural psyche, is very different, and the only and so acceptance becomes the major issue. And I've been told many times in the hospital, in that when a patient comes to me and I said you need surgery, so they'll ask how old are you and how many surgeries have you done, and or they would even say that do we even want to have a female surgeon, right?
Right.
So as I said, the challenges are right from the beginning. The challenges are to become a surgeon because your family, your peers, your parents don't want you to go into a male-dominated field. They want you to get married, raise children, and maybe do something which is easier, like maybe have a clinic on the side, or work from home, or become a pediatrician, or fields that are considered motherly, right? Or obstetric gynecology, or medicine, or pediatrics. They are sort of understood to be more female kind of places where you want to go in the medical world. I'm talking about. I'm not talking about corporate world or the other world, right?
Right.
So when when a woman wants to say that she wants to become surgeon, the first resistance actually comes from home.
Right.
And that's the suffering. Yes, your suffering comes from home.
How supportive is your family of your profession?
Right. My dad was actually very, very supportive of me. He let me go to the US when I was only 22 years old. Okay, and that was in the early 90s when women did not used to go out for studies, in Pakistan.
Right.
So my dad had a very, very different vision, right?
Right.
But and that was the reason that I could thrive and I could survive, because I had a very strong support from a parent.
Right.
But when I see other women, like my medical students or my mentees, people women who wants to come and talk to me, this is what I see in them. That number one, the first thing is their parents, who are actually not encouraging them to become. Like I distinctly remember one of my interns.
Yes.
I was once working with her, and I said, "Okay, so what's your plan for future?" And she said, "Ma'am, I don't want to do medicine." I said, "What? You are an intern now. You went through 5 years of medical school." And she said, "Yes, I want to become a fashion designer." But my parents said, "No, you have to go into medicine." So there is so much. So this is one example,
Yeah.
but the idea is that when in that medicine a woman wants to become a surgeon, again the parents would say, no, you don't become a surgeon. This is a very tough field. You have to raise children, you have to take care of your husband and your family, and this is not the right field, and you should do something which is easier. So
Yeah.
I think the first challenge for a female surgeon starts right from home.
Right.
And the second challenge, of course, then comes at workplace, right?
Right.
Again, you know, if she wants to become pregnant, right?
Yes.
When she goes for interviews, even,
Yes.
people will say, people would ask me, "I hope you're not gonna get pregnant, and we will have issues, right?" People
Yes.
don't want to hire women who are. They would rather hire women who are single and who don't want to get pregnant rather than women who are married and who have children, because they think that they will have home and children responsibility.
Right.
The culture doesn't help us to do both together.
Right.
And I think that's what the culture needs to change. A woman can be a mother, can be a wife, and can be a surgeon simultaneously. Why does I always feel that she has to suffer, right?
Right.
If the colleagues help, if the spouse helps, if the parents help, she can actually do both of them together.
What made you start the Women in Neurosurgery chapter in Pakistan?
So I felt that when I came to Pakistan, I felt that when I went to the different conferences, I felt that the women are not properly represented. I felt that there is there has to be somebody who can actually help them to push their agenda forward, and that's why I decided to be a part of. So I've started the Women in Neurosurgery chapter in Pakistan, which is within the Pakistan Society of Neurosurgery. I'm thankful to Pakistani neurosurgeons who actually let me make that chapter. What if they would have said, "No, you can't make that chapter"? Would I be able to then? No. So of course there is this. This part that there will be some males who will actually help the female to rise up. Like in my case, they were my parents who helped me, and like my dad, and then the neurosurgeon in America who actually decided that he wanted to give me a chance. My other mentor, who is now chairman of neurosurgery at Boston University, who helped me. You need males to push female forward,
Yeah.
and until the critical mass is formed that a female can push a female, okay, until that happens, a male has to push a female up. And I was lucky that I have found those male in my life, and when I then I formed the Women in Neurosurgery chapter, and then every year, I have a Women in Neurosurgery session in the Pakistan conferences, where I would invite leading females neurosurgeons all around the world to come and present. I would encourage my colleagues in Pakistan who are becoming neurosurgeons to come and present their work, so they come into the limelight.
Right.
Yeah, and so I helped them in writing papers, research papers. I helped them to present their work. I helped them for career building or career advices. So that was the reason that it was formulated. So I am also a part of the Women in Neurosurgery in the world as well,
Okay.
and we collect data from all over the world. Like I'm actually in the process of forming writing 100 years of women in neurosurgery in Asia.
Right.
And I'm also making a directory of all the women neurosurgeons in the world.
Okay.
So I'm also involved in that bit as well. So it's not just Pakistan. For me, it's the entire world.
Right.
Since I gather data, I have found that in the last 6 to 7 years, a lot of females have actually come into neurosurgery. So I personally think that some of my efforts have actually really worked. People looking at me as role model, and they said that, well, Dr. Aneela can do it, we can do it, and our ratio is pretty high. So we have a lot of females that have now entered into neurosurgery. Many of them have actually become neurosurgeons now. I have personally graduated 2 female neurosurgeons, and 2 of them are in making. And I have mentored many female medical students to go into this field in Pakistan and abroad, and the numbers are rising.
We'll love to know about your current roles and responsibilities.
Right now, I am wearing 2 different hats.
Right.
I'm not only a neurosurgeon, but I'm also a medical director of a brand new hospital in Multan.
Right.
So I have 2 hats now. Before, I was only a neurosurgeon at Afghan University, Karachi, and a professor and a program director for neurosurgery, training more neurosurgeons. But now I have a separate hat. I'm also a medical director. So I also am creating a new hospital in southern Punjab, where there is a high need of a good hospital where there is quality care and ethics. So I have actually shifted to Multan, and I go to Karachi every 2 weeks to work at Aga Khan University. So I'm working in both the places. So my daily routine usually, I would say, is that I would come to work, since I am a medical director. So I have to do a lot of management work, which is hiring doctors and managing doctors and creating different departments in the hospital. I'm not only creating a neurosurgery department, but I'm creating all the departments of the hospital. And then I have then every day I do a clinic for 3 hours, and then in the afternoon usually I perform some surgeries, and in the evening I again do my medical director's work.
Thank you, Dr. Aneela Darbar, the first female neurosurgeon of Pakistan.